welcome back to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. My name is Marla and I'm with Matt about cards and crafts. Today I'm sharing a scene building card using the Spellbinders Build a Summer Birdhouse. I chose not to use this as a birdhouse today, but I did want to show you how the dies cut out and what the pack contains. There are 4 different birdhouses that were released by Spellbinders. Patina is the designer. She has a wonderful YouTube channel, and she also has some cards created using these sets over on her channel. Currently, these are unavailable in the ScrapbookPal store, but they are on reorder. They should be back in stock shortly. All you need to do is leave your email address. There's a place to click to be notified. Leave your email address, and as soon as they come back in stock, then you will be notified so that you can purchase them. This die set, I should say, that I'm using today comes with 6 different dies, and it cuts out 10 different pieces. So it comes with the Lighthouse, and then this is the Lighthouse right here. I wanted to share that there are score lines on this. There is also a bird set that I don't happen to have. I am going to get it when it comes back in stock. But these doors open so that you can put your little bird inside that birdhouse, which I absolutely love. I did not use it this way. It also comes with the stand for the birdhouse, so you use these pieces to build on the stand that this Lighthouse birdhouse would stand on. A life preserver. It comes with the shell, the starfish, and the bird. And look at let me see if I can get this in camera. Look at the detail that this little shell has. The etching on this is absolutely beautiful. So it also comes with the light and the anchor. The stamp set that is meant to coordinate with this has several sentiments. Wishing you a fun holiday season, because there is a winter birdhouse, so there's one birdhouse for each season, spring, summer, and fall. Spread your wings and fly. So thankful for you. Be my tweetheart. So that would be a great Valentine sentiment. A birdie told me it's your birthday. Summer vibes and have an amazing day. I also used a Tim Holtz Lumber 3D embossing folder. This is not available in the store, but it does have a nice detail to it. And so I use this quite frequently. I used the Hero Arts Oval Infinity Nesting dies, and I used these 2 dies on my project. So let's jump into the project that I'm creating today. I'm going to start with a scrap piece of Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and I'm going to use a blending brush to add some Distress Oxide in Weathered Wood and Salvaged Patina. I wanted to get an aged look, as if that lighthouse had been sitting out for a long time, like most lighthouses would. And so I'm just adding the color down onto this cardstock. One of the things that I wish that I would have done is let this dry back first before I add the next color. I think that it looks really vibrant right here, and I thought that maybe it was just going to be a little bit too much, so I thought I would tone it down with the Hero Arts White pigment ink. And once everything dries back, I like the color, but I think that it dried back just a little bit more than I wanted to, and it almost looks like speckled egg. You can see the little bit of weathered wood in it, but I think the white really toned down the salvaged patina and made it look more like speckled egg. So I could have added some more salvaged patina, but I ended up leaving it the way that it was. I am going to get more of a matte finish since I'm using the Distress Oxides, and you do get that little bit of chalkiness with the pigment ink. So this is really going to be a subtle lighthouse. I've cut it out using the die, and you can see the beautiful detail that you get, especially using the heavier cardstock. I've added some barn door Distress Oxide onto this scratch piece of paper. And like I said, using scrap pieces of paper, this is a great way to use this up, especially with these smaller dies. So the way that this die works is that you can cut the top portion of the lighthouse with just a couple of snips. So I went ahead and die cut just the top of the lighthouse, and now I have that beautiful red at the very top. I could have went in. I think another thing that would have been really pretty would have been to use a gold gel pen or some gold paint and painting the top like little ball at the top of that White House. That would have added a little bit more detail to this as well. I did use some frayed burlap and some weathered wood to create my oars. And then I've cut out the life preserver, and I'm using my Dev blender pen. When you're using a Dev blender pen, make sure that you clean it off. Make sure that it's clean, I should say, because a lot of times I'll wipe it down on a scrap piece of paper to get the ink off, but I still find that when I open it up the next time that there's a little bit of ink on there, so that I don't contaminate my Distress Oxides and I don't ruin my little life preserver by mixing two colors together. So I've added that barn door so I get the red, but I also have that white outline, which would be the rope that would be on that life preserver, and I like the detail that I get there. I like the addition of the red. I've cut out my accent pieces, and I'm going to leave everything white except for that little light. I will end up coloring that in later on. Here I have a piece of cardstock that's cut to 3.5 by 4 3/4. I'm going to take it over to my machine and die cut and get that oval out. I am going to end up using that frame later on. I'm taking that blending brush again. I lightly placed it in the Speckled Egg Distress Oxide ink and I tapped it off. I did leave some white space on the sky, and here I'm creating sand using frayed burlap. I want to add some ocean waves, and the easy way to do that would be to take a piece of copy paper, tear it towards you, and then just ink blend with that same color over it. So there's not going to be a whole lot of variation in the speckled egg between the waves and the sky, but you can see that there is a difference, but I'm going to add a little bit more detail to that in just a few minutes. I am going to mask this off with the other half of that paper and bring in some vintage photo, some water, and a watercolor brush, and I'm going to add some splatters to my sand. As you can see, I didn't worry about getting a really good blend onto the bottom of that sand because the sand is going to have a lot of texture to it, and so I wanted to make sure that I didn't have a smooth blend. That was intentional. Now I'm bringing in some Tombow Starry watercolor, and I'm going to use two of the golds, the yellow gold and then that more orangey, deeper gold, and I'm going to add some more splatters to my sand, and that's going to bring that gold shimmer and a little bit more texture into the sand. I really like the way that this looks, but I also think it would have been really pretty if I would have brought in some gouache in like reds and blues and yellows, and I could have maybe made it look like it was a flower field. That's another thing that I could have done. This is one of my favorite new things to do when I'm using gold watercolor splatters is I like to add the gold to the edging of my die cut. I think it just adds so much more to the composition. Look at how pretty that is. I think that just that little added detail really makes my abstract scene pop. Now, I did use the lumber embossing folder on that white piece of cardstock, so I did run that through my Vagabond so that I got that wood grain texture, and I'm going to put the pieces to my lighthouse together. I could have, if I had the birds, I could have had the bird peeking out of the hole of that lighthouse, but you're going to see later on that I'm just going to use the negative pieces that came out, and I'm going to add them back in so that I get a white background to my lighthouse. I am going to add some foam tape to the back of that white cutout panel, but first I'm going to bring in a piece of gold cardstock. I will go in and cut out that center so I don't waste that gold in the center because I am going to fill it in using the scene panel that we've already created. I'm adding that foam tape to the back of the lumber, and I'm going to put it onto the gold cardstock. That gold cardstock is cut to 3 3/4 by 5. And so once I get this removed, I'll add it to the gold cardstock, and then we're going to also add that panel to the Nina Desert Storm cardstock using some art glitter glue. And the Nina Desert Storm is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. So now I'm going to add a little bit more detail, and we're going to really try to get some definition into these waves. One way to do it is to use a white gel pen. This is a number 10 Jelly Roll pen, and I'm just trying to draw in kind of like the foam. You know, when a wave is crashing, you're going to get that little bit of white foam. So I'm using that white gel pen for that. Another way to do this would be to take a flat brush and to tap some white gouache over those areas. And so that's just going to add a little bit more texture, and it makes this scene building super easy. So I think that, you know, anybody would be able to do this. It's very abstract, but your eye really reads what it is: the sand, the waves, and the sky. Here I colored in that light using my Scattered Straw Distress ink. And I'm seeing where I want my sentiment placed. My sentiment says, "Spread your wings and fly." And I'm going to use the Vintage Photo Distress Oxide, and I'm going to stamp that directly to my card panel right here using that Distress Oxide ink and my Misty. And then I'm going to add a little bit more blue, so a little bit more of that speckled egg using a sponge dauber, and you can see how that really makes the waves stand out more. I'm going to glue this to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folding card base. This is Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and then we're going to start adding our lighthouse. So I'm not sure, I may have already glued the center down off camera. I might not have caught that on camera, but I did glue the center portion into, so it's inlaid into that raised card panel. I've added some foam to the back of the lighthouse because the white card panel is popped up. I did have to double the layer on the left side. And now we're going to add our birds, and then we'll add our other little elements. As you can see, I did add the white backing so that the card panels weren't showing through on my lighthouse. And that's going to be my card for today. So I hope you give this scene building a try. As I said, you can put yourself on an email wait list for these dies. I'm going to have a couple looks at the card at the very end. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure that you subscribe to the Scrapbook Pal channel. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching.